Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Okay, let's dive right into this because we've got an absolutely incredible story to unpack today. We're looking at a truly powerful business case study, but it is not wrapped up in your typical dry corporate jargon. Instead, it's wrapped in the phenomenal rags to riches story of a 19-year-old guy named Jack. We're going to break down exactly how a teenager, sitting on a tiny wooden box on a noisy street corner, transformed a humble shoe-shining hustle into a massive, nationwide business empire. We'll look at the exact decisions he made, the moral crossroads he faced, and the scaling strategies that made the whole shebang possible. It's just an incredible blueprint for success that proves, without a doubt, that where you start has literally nothing to do with where you can finish.
And, this quote brilliantly illustrates exactly how Jack's journey began. I want you to picture this. It's a busy city street in the morning. People are rushing to work, completely, totally focused on their own lives. And right there sits Jack, charging just $1 for a shoe shine. Now, the environment wasn't exactly supportive, to put it mildly. He was completely ignored by most people, and worse, he was actively mocked by others. You'd have these passing businessmen who would actually laugh and tell him he was going to be polishing shoes his entire life. But Jack made a conscious choice right then and there. He just smiled warmly and kept on working. He utterly refused to internalize their cynicism because he inherently understood that giving in to the mockery, well, that would be the real failure. He made the firm decision to never let someone else's opinion decide his future.
All right, Section 1, the foundation of character. Choosing honesty over quick cash. The absolute turning point in Jack's early career really just comes down to this exact amount, $20. One morning, an elderly customer comes by for a shine. When it's time to pay, the man makes a simple, honest mistake and hands Jack a $20 bill instead of a $10. Now think about it. For a kid making $1 a shine, an extra $10 is a massive windfall. Most people in that desperate situation might have just stayed quiet and pocketed the cash, right? But Jack notices the overpayment immediately. He jumps up and literally chases the elderly man down the street to return the money. The man is stunned, noting that most people would have just kept it. But here is the critical business detail in all of this. Across the street, watching this entire interaction unfold, was a highly successful businessman named Mr. Harrison. Jack's character was being audited when he didn't even know anyone was watching.
Later that evening, Jack goes home and hands his daily earnings over to his grandmother, Rose, and we discover exactly where this unshakable integrity comes from. She shares this profound piece of advice with him. Money comes and goes, but a good name stays forever. Now, what's so fascinating about this advice is how it perfectly frames the entire long-term thesis of Jack's eventual business empire. Grandmother Rose wasn't just giving him sweet, comforting family advice, she was establishing his ultimate moral compass. She was teaching him about the immense compounding value of a stellar reputation. She was basically anchoring him to the idea that long-term trust is infinitely more valuable than short-term profit.
Which brings us to Section 2, the fork in the road. Mentorship versus greed.
So Mr. Harrison, the businessman who actually saw Jack return the $20, approaches him with an opportunity. He offers Jack an after-school job in his office. Now, Mr. Harrison's path is all about hard work and patience. We're talking about organizing files, observing meetings, learning the actual mechanics of how a business runs, and reading books late into the night. It's a slow burn. But suddenly, another businessman, a greedy guy named Mr. Cole, approaches Jack with a completely different pitch. Mr. Cole promises incredibly fast wealth. The catch? You just have to be willing to lie to your customers and cheat your way to the top. It's the absolute classic temptation of the shortcut.
And Jack's response is just a masterclass in long-term strategic thinking. He politely smiles at Mr. Cole and says, "I'd rather earn trust than quick money." Mr. Cole literally walks away laughing at him. But Jack had made his choice. He fully committed to sustainable, honest growth through Mr. Harrison's mentorship. He put in the ruling hours. He even endured jokes from his fiercely supportive but very funny best friend Mike, who would tease Jack about wearing a tie now and forgetting all the little people. But Jack took it all in stride. He knew for sure he was building a foundation of knowledge that no one could ever take away from him.
Let's fast forward a few years. Section 3, scaling with integrity. From a tiny shop to an empire.
So Jack painstakingly saves up enough of his own cash to open a tiny shoe repair shop.
At first, it is incredibly slow. In fact, he only has one single customer on opening day. His best friend Mike proudly steps up to be his very first employee. And yeah, there were growing pains, like a pretty hilarious moment where Mike accidentally polishes a confused customer's shoes using two completely different colors. But from that rocky step one, they expand to 3 shops, then 10 locations, and finally a massive nationwide shoe care and leather products company. How did they pull it off? Well, it wasn't a magic trick. It was the direct result of Jack listening carefully to every single customer, offering consistently excellent service, and relying on the undeniable power of strong, organic word-of-mouth recommendations.
Now for Section 4, the copycat crisis, navigating threats without compromising values. You know, no business empire grows without facing a major existential threat. A famous, much larger company decides to just blatantly rip off Jack's ideas. They copy his concepts and immediately slash their prices to undercut him. Jack's employees go into an absolute panic, convinced they can't possibly compete with that. But instead of engaging in a race to the bottom by cheapening his own products to match their prices, Jack utterly refuses to compromise. He doubles down on the one competitive moat the copycats simply could not steal: unshakable honesty, improved product quality, and vastly superior customer service. This was Jack's calming leadership philosophy right during the height of the panic. He gathered his terrified team and told them, they can copy our products, but they can't copy our honesty. And you know what? He was absolutely right. Because they didn't panic, and because they focused on delivering even better service, their customers remained fiercely loyal. Sure, the copycat brand had cheaper prices, but Jack's brand had the absolute trust of the consumer. That trust not only saved the company, it permanently solidified their place at the top of the market.
Section 5. True Success and Legacy. Redefining the ultimate goal. So what happens when the kid from the street corner finally reaches the absolute pinnacle of his industry? Well, years later, Jack stands as the owner of one of the largest shoe brands in the entire country. Magazine headlines are actively celebrating him, printing massive titles like "Former Shoe Shiner Builds Business Empire." When a reporter finally sits down with him and asks for his ultimate secret to success, Jack simply smiles and delivers this quote: "I never believed any job was too small. I only believed my dreams were too big to quit." It is just a stunning display of humility. He never lost respect for the daily grind, and his relentless determination was the true fuel for his ascent. But success isn't just about accumulating wealth, is it? It's about what you actually do with it. Jack chooses to spend his wealth and influence giving back to the very community he came from. He opens dedicated training centers for unemployed youth. He provides entirely free business classes to pass on the mentorship Mr. Harrison once gave him. And watching proudly from the sidelines, Grandmother Rose gets to see her ultimate prediction come true. She always knew Jack's hands would eventually polish more than just shoes. They are now actively polishing lives. He established a legacy that goes way, way beyond corporate profit margins. Eventually, Jack's journey comes beautifully full circle. He takes a walk back to that exact same bustling street corner where he used to sit on a small wooden box. And right there, he finds a young, hopeful little boy shining shoes, facing the exact same mockery Jack once faced. The boy looks up at this wealthy, well-dressed business titan and asks a heartbreakingly relatable question: can someone like me really become successful? Jack kneels right down beside him, looks him square in the eye, and gives him this powerful piece of advice. Never be ashamed of honest work. Your job is only where you start, not where you finish. The boy just smiles, completely filled with hope. It's a fantastic reminder to all of us that success absolutely does not begin with money. It begins with character, discipline, and the sheer courage to just keep moving forward. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. If you were tested today, on the street corner of your own career, are you currently building a fragile foundation for quick cash, or are you doing the slow, hard work required to build an empire of unshakable character? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and keep building your legacy.